Welcome to Psychic Bent. My name is Carrie.
And I'm Kim. We are two sisters wanting to help other psychics learn and grow in their abilities and to help educate about spirits, angels, and everything psychic. So welcome back, listeners. We're so glad you joined us. This week we decided we were going to do some discussion about ghosts and ghost hunting. I think especially I lately have had more instances of seeing things and having to deal with those things that we just thought it would be a good idea to touch on ghost hunting and such.
And the paranormal.
True, and the paranormal itself, exactly.
Yeah, and the paranormal.
So I know you've had more experience with actually going to other people's places and doing investigations, more or less, or helping them with identifying what's there and such. What's that like?
Well, you know how it was growing up in a haunted house.
Mm-hmm.
You just are used to seeing what you see. And of course, being psychic, you see more than what most people see.
Mm-hmm.
It just kind of starts out with when someone wants to do a house blessing, like they just bought a new house or they're just moving into a new place. They've asked me to come through and they just want me to smudge it and get rid of the negative energy. And so it's not necessarily starts off as an investigation,
Mm-hmm.
but they want me to smudge the environment, make it nice. And because anytime you clean, you should smudge. And, we've gone over that in previous episodes. And anytime you have any entities, whether you've crossed them over or they're just hanging out or whatever, you should always smudge.
Mm-hmm.
To just keep your energy good and to remove negative energy. I've been asked 3 out of 3 times to come do blessings, and 3 out of 3 times it's like, well, let's talk about the ghost, because most places do have entities.
Yeah.
It's kind of a catch-22 because I wasn't invited there to do a paranormal investigation. I was asked to just come do the house blessing, and as I'm walking through the house, because you got to walk through everything, kind of get an idea. Am I going to need holy water? Am I going to need the Palo Santo, the sage? What's going to be the best course of action? And halfway through the first house, I get to the dining room. I'm like, oh, okay. There's an old lady. She's hanging out. No. And she followed me through the house, and when it came back, I said, okay, so I'm going to do the blessing, smudge the house and everything. You're welcome to come with me from room to room. That's what I'm going to explain the process and how it works, and the point of having a window open or a door open to get the energy out and that. And then I just said, okay, so what would you like to do about the woman? And she says, what woman? I said, well, there's an elderly woman right here. We ended up back in the dining room where I first saw her. I said, she's right here. And, she was, everybody doesn't want to get rid of them.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why. Everybody wants to keep them. Oh, no, don't make them leave. Okay. I went ahead and set the intention that, what doesn't belong here has to leave. What is welcome to stay can stay, because you need to have parameters when you do set intention, when you're going to do anything, smudging wise and or clearing.
Mm-hmm.
That particular investigation, I think I've mentioned before on the podcast. There was a man that didn't belong to the property at all in an apartment above the garage. He just wandered in and he was just hanging out. And I told her that he really should go because he didn't belong.
Right.
She was like, well, he could just stay. No. I said, no, the woman, that was her house until she passed away, and they bought the house from the estate. So it was very new for the woman in the house.
Mm-hmm.
This guy didn't belong, so it was kind of like, no, he's going to have to go. It's like, no, he doesn't belong here. You don't know why he's here. He needs to go. And it's like, you as a psychic and you want to try to move people on. I mean, I know that defeats the purpose of doing paranormal investigations because that's what they want, this interaction and to keep it going. But when you have someone who might just be confused and needs to cross over, because we talked about it before, you have the difference between a ghost and a spirit. The spirit's those who crossed over and came back.
Right.
We just refer to them as all ghosts.
Mm-hmm.
But the ghosts are the ones who refuse to go to the light. They refuse to cross over for whatever reasons, whether they don't realize they're dead or they're afraid of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
For whatever reason, or they just don't want to go. So those are the ghosts. So it's just kind of interesting. I've gone to one house where it was a black shadow, and he was trying to put himself in the corner, like pressed up against the wall, like I wouldn't see him.
Mm-hmm.
And I acted like I didn't, because he did not want to be seen, and I was okay with that. And when I came back, that was just during the walkthrough, and I said, okay, well, the bathroom in the back, do you use it? He goes, no, no. I said, well, it's got there's really bad energy in there, and it may take more than one cleansing to clear that out. Something bad had happened in that bathroom. I don't know what.
Mm.
I said, so what's up with the man in the corner in the bedroom? Oh, he's always with me.
Hmm.
Okay. It's one of those situations where you're like, what do you knew he was there. Why am I here? It's like,
Yeah, that's interesting that he knew
yeah.
he had an attachment with him and accepted it. It's always there.
Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
He's always with me. Well, this particular person wasn't upfront on their religion
Oh.
and was exploring. They weren't quite committed to it, but they were exploring different types of witchcraft.
Hmm.
And if that's his calling, that's great. But like we talked before, don't dabble until you do the research.
Right.
Find out, what do you really believe in? Are you just wanting to do something because it makes you feel important, or you want to try to control things, or is this really what you believe? This is your way of life. Are
Mm-hmm.
you willing to commit to this way of life?
Right.
I wouldn't go off and join a monastery without doing research, and the answer would probably be, nope, not doing that. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You got to know what you're getting into, and there's different types of witchcraft. There's Wicca. I mean, you've got different things.
Mm-hmm. Right.
He had a book of ruins, and I think he was dabbling in he was trying different things. So I don't know if the Shadow Man was a product of that,
Hmm.
or that's just something that's always been with him. I didn't want to know. I was not open to communicating. I kind of had a terrible time getting this. I had my partner with me, the young guy that likes to do the paranormal with me and does the house cleansings, and he had Palo Santo and I had sage, and we were doing both in this house
Wow.
at the same time. One was following the other, and had trouble getting the sage to light. I had the normal lighter that you use for like the barbecue grills with the extension.
Mm-hmm.
It just wouldn't stay lit. The person's home, the man that was running this home, he had one of those torch lighters.
Mm-hmm.
I had to use the torch lighter, and we were passing that lighter off back and forth to each other to have to constantly relight the Palo Santo and the sage.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm not sure why I was there. I'm like, why did you have me come do this? And then it came down to it, I was asked by somebody else roundabout way to do it. He agreed to it, but evidently it was his mom that wanted me to do it. It's like, okay.
Well, then naturally that explains everything. It wasn't his purpose or intention for you to be there to
Yes.
do that. It was,
Yeah.
all right, pacifying mom.
Yeah. So we'd stepped outside when we were done. Then the sage wouldn't go out. It was smoking like crazy. And, so I'm kind of waving it, and I'm kind of like making sure I'm getting smoke on me, because it's like, and we're just talking and stuff. And unbeknownst to me, the gentleman that came with me, he's like in the smoke, just standing there in the smoke. It was just like, okay. We both felt really relieved to be out of there. When we first pulled up, we both went, oh. I mean, you could feel it in the driveway.
Wow.
It was, oh.
Well,
Yeah.
that makes sense. I mean, because things may have been being conducted outside as well, not just in the home.
Yeah. I found out later that he thought he spotted an elemental outside. He saw something outside,
Mm-hmm.
and a tree fell,
Mm.
after he saw the elemental.
Right.
So he moved. He moved. Now, paranormal investigation, like if you go to a lot of paranormal conventions, they have ghost investigations.
Mm-hmm.
You can go on, and they usually take you to spots that are notorious for being haunted.
Right.
It's just like if you do a ghost tour, they take you places. And I helped Julie do a ghost tour during a convention, and it was in a Shriner temple.
Okay.
And so we had to be very careful. Certain rooms you couldn't go in.
Mm-hmm. Right.
because of that. And the air conditioner, of course, could not be on because that's giving you noise that can corrupt your actual recordings.
Yeah.
So you can't have heat or air running, or you shouldn't when you're doing a paranormal investigation. No fans on,
Mm-hmm.
because that's going to create a humming noise.
Right.
I mean, the only thing that you could have that creates a noise would be, like one of the boxes that has the white noise.
Uh-huh. Right.
And also does recording. And then you could talk through that. That's usually the only noise you have going on mechanically wise.
Right. It's what's called a ghost box.
Yes, a ghost box. And there's different types of ghost boxes. It's just basically a scanning AM stations.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's jumping from channel to channel to channel. And that white noise is supposed to make it easier for entities to speak to you through it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of cool if you go to a paranormal convention, because you usually have several groups that do this at their own, where they live, and they've got all their tools. So it's usually fun to if you're going to be your first time doing a paranormal, activity. If there happens to be a paranormal convention in your town or close by, you're going to want to sign up for a ghost tour through that convention.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll get to see a lot of the paranormal equipment in use. Because the one that we did, because you have to be locked in the building.
Right.
Because you can't have people going in and out and creating noise and making it sound like a door open when it really wasn't paranormal. It was someone going out.
Yeah, exactly.
And so this was like a very, the old Masonic lodges are huge.
Mm-hmm.
They, so many had to be upstairs, so many had to be on the middle floor, and so many in the lower level. Just so there was room to investigate. There was quite the group. They had the obelisk. That was people talking through it. They were doing a lot with the camera that does the stick people.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, they had people there with the SLS camera, which is you can point in a certain area, and if the camera picks up on an entity, it'll show like a little stick figure.
Mm-hmm. Which is so crazy.
Yeah, but you have to map in the other people that are in the room,
Mm-hmm.
so it knows that it doesn't count those people.
Right.
Yeah, so that's a different tool you could use. And it's really interesting how this particular ghost tour, some of the people didn't get anything.
Oh, interesting.
And then others were like, oh my gosh, we were getting so many hits and all this stuff. It was interesting to see, because you had some hardcore paranormal investigators, and they like to be called paranormal investigators, not ghost hunters.
Yeah.
So it is paranormal investigator. So it's very serious work. If you're only going to have fun, then you don't do it. Because if you're going with a group, these people are professionals, and they're not there to aggravate the entities or provoke the entities, because these are people.
Mm-hmm.
And so you need to show respect.
Right.
If you watch a lot of or any of the paranormal shows on TV, do keep in mind that a good portion of those are hyped.
Mm-hmm.
But you do have some of that stuff that actually happens where people come in, and that's one thing that they really stress when you're going to go do an investigation is be respectful.
Right.
Even though they're no longer living, this is a person.
Right, and pretty much where they live.
Yeah, you're not going to go into someone's home and be disrespectful and provoke someone unless you're just that bad.
Yeah.
But you do hear of cases where provoking has happened, and then there's, I hate to say retaliation.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, what do you expect an entity to do?
Right, and then there's those cases where people's intent is bad, where they perform seances and use the Ouija boards and stuff like that and try to provoke, and it's just not a proper way to be.
And we're not knocking seances.
No.
And we're not knocking the use of a Ouija board.
No.
But with a Ouija board, if you do not know how to close a portal, do not touch it.
Right.
And the same with a seance. You need someone there who knows how to do the seance and how to close it off, how to end it. Otherwise, you've stirred stuff up, and now you're going to go home, and if this is someone's house that they let you come in to investigate, they're not going to be very happy with you.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I wasn't trying to knock those two. I was just saying there were people that would actually go in and
Yes.
have bad intentions planned to try to stir things up in a bad way using those devices, and that's just not the proper thing to do. Be
No,
respectful.
no. And I found out recently, it was over probably in August, September of last year. I found out that where we stay in southern Indiana when we're heading to Illinois, we stop for the night,
Hmm.
is close to Waverly.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I'm like, oh, Waverly Sanitarium's this close. I don't know. I was like, I don't know. 'Cause you've seen so much on that one. You're like, I don't know. They got some really, as a psychic, I don't think I'd want to go there. If I wasn't psychic and just doing a paranormal investigation, I think I would be down for it. But not seeing what I see,
I don't know.
with the third eye,
Hmm.
I'm like, I don't think so.
Yeah, any of those, I think I would have to do a hard pass on those. Even when I'm watching them on the TV, when they're doing investigations, I get really odd stuff, really odd feelings, and I don't like it. It's like I couldn't do it. Mm-mm. Nope.
Well, Waverly Hill Sanitarium was where a lot of people who had tuberculosis died.
Mm-hmm.
And it was an insane asylum at one point too, I believe.
Right. I think so.
So you have a lot of different energy there.
Mm-hmm.
And then you have had, it's been open, it's had several owners, and I've heard conflicting things about owners and stuff. I don't know. It's just what I hear on Facebook. So, who knows what it really means. You're not able to keep track of a ghost hunting team in some places the size of Waverly. People are going to do provoking.
Mm-hmm.
That don't understand. I mean, these are people that died, before their time because of an illness, or they were an employee there and contracted it. It could have been medical personnel. And we've heard such stories that have come out of that one. So,
Oh, yeah.
so I don't think I would be keen on that. I was more keen on the investigating a residence or the Masonic Lodge.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't there to do investigating. I was there as a representative from the group to make sure everybody was doing what they're supposed to be doing and being respectful.
Right.
But then later on realized I had on my black kyanite. And I went, well,
Well, that
the
prevented.
people that were with me,
Yeah.
the people that were with me weren't getting much interaction. And I was like, oh, sorry, gang. Forgot to, because I had it on at the paranormal convention.
Right.
Now, the last time I went to the convention, which is over a year ago, I saw an entity.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the campus where you were buried. So we've discussed that, where it's a very haunted area.
Right. It is.
But when you put in, and at the convention, you had paranormal investigators, you had people selling things geared towards supernatural stuff.
Mm-hmm.
There were Wiccans, witches, psychics, and it was crammed full of energy. And it was table to table to table.
Mm-hmm.
It was at a gymnasium, so it was full of people, full of vendors, full of people coming through. And the energy was, I was smudging myself like crazy. I had my smudge spray out and,
Mm-hmm.
just kind of like spray, 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 spray. Because there was so much energy. And it was almost chaotic.
Right. Oh, yeah.
But that energy also made it easy for that ghost to show himself. It was really funny. It was the middle of the day. And it was one of the lectures let out, and all these people come through the door. And he's dressed oddly. And, some people dress up for these kind of things however they want.
Mm-hmm.
But he was dressed turn of the century clothing. And he was just smiling, walking around looking. And he looked at me, and I looked at him. And we made eye contact. And then he kind of like went to wave and then realized I saw him. He was like almost waved, like you wave when someone can see you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He went to wave, and then he kind of like, I don't know if he panicked or what. But I'm like, I could have been the only psychic in the room that saw him. There were several psychics in the room. I'm just like,
But maybe you were the only one that was tuned into his frequency.
that's true. It could have been. Because I mean, all of a sudden I was like, I need to look over there, and there he was, and he turned around to go back the opposite direction he came, and he just disappeared.
Wow.
Yeah. But he seemed like when he realized I could see him, he had like an excited look on his face.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, and then holy crap. Because he raised his arm like he's getting ready to wave, and he had his hand up, and then he just kind of like,
It's like, oh, nope.
like,
Oop.
oh, oh, no, what do I do? What do I do? Kind of thing. So,
I can't believe she saw me.
yeah. I thought, wow, well, I look that bad? Okay. Scare you right out of here.
Yeah.
Well, it might have also been a situation where he might have realized people could see him in that room. If he's been going around not being seen,
Yeah, that's a good
it
point.
might have been a little like I wasn't anticipating someone who could see me. And like I said, there were many, many psychics in the room.
Mm-hmm. I had a situation like that kind of occur. It wasn't while ghost hunting. It was at a specific rest stop that you had told me about. And whenever we were on our way to visit you guys one time, and we stopped at it. And as I was walking up to the rest area, there was an employee, which appeared to be an employee, walking towards me, and his eyes were just fixed on me the whole time as I was looking at him, and my stomach did its little turn and hop, and I felt that, ooh, this one's kind of creepy. This is creepy. And he just watched me the whole time I walked past him, and he was walking towards me until I got past him, and then went ahead and went to the bathroom, came back out, and he was gone. He wasn't in there anymore. But it was definitely a creepy feeling, whenever we made that eye contact. I asked my husband if he saw that guy, and he said he didn't know who I was talking about. I think it was a little bit of a nefarious person there.
Yeah. Well, I told you it was a creepy. I told you it was creepy. Don't stop there.
Yes, you did.
I'm just like.
But I wasn't going to hang around and ask him if he was okay or if he needed to move on. So.
Well, a lot of things do happen at rest areas that aren't publicized.
Oh, definitely.
That are not good things.
Right.
So I normally don't like to stop at a rest area, but sometimes that's your only option.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of it because things can happen.
Yep, that they can.
And it may not be paranormal, so just be careful.
Yeah. And a lot of times when you leave places that you've investigated, of course, you have to make certain that you cleanse yourself and tell whatever's there to stay there and not follow you home. You don't need any stragglers.
And that's very important. And I know we covered that on a previous episode that, when you're starting out, you set intentions and you should ask for protection.
Mm-hmm.
Before you do any kind of investigation, because you are psychic.
Right.
And that doesn't mean you're going to be able to always tell when there's something there that you don't need to be around. You don't always get that.
Yeah, that's true.
See, so you do need protection from any dark entities, protection so nothing follows you home.
Mm-hmm.
Blue kyanite in the car is usually a good idea. Maybe some black kyanite as well. But it's very important. It's like good hygiene kind of thing for ghost hunting, I guess you can call it. Set those intentions.
Right.
Because you don't need something following you home. I mean, look, we talked about the last episode, how many times you've had to clear your house.
Yeah. Many.
And you're not bringing them home.
No.
They're coming home via bonus daughter. But it's just one of those situations where you should be careful anyway. But if you're going to do any paranormal investigations, just protect yourself. And, if you've never done it before, do some research on it. Because, again, like we talked about with other things, see if it's anything you even want to do. Because if you're psychic, and we've talked to people that have started listening to the podcast, where one had gone to a ghost hunt, and she didn't realize she was psychic. She was very confused. She didn't know what was going on, but she didn't put the psychic label to it. And she kind of got attacked.
Yeah.
Remember when she was saying how it kind of like grabbed onto her purse, I think?
Mm-hmm. Right.
Or her backpack,
purse. Yeah.
And she couldn't get it away. I mean, wouldn't let go. And, that's scary because you can't move it and you can't see what's doing this.
Mm-hmm.
The entity probably knew she was psychic.
Yeah.
And was trying to get her attention.
For who knows what reason, but yeah.
Right. And this is, but keep in mind that this particular venue that they were investigating is known to be haunted and does many, many ghost hunts or
Mm-hmm.
ghost investigations. So just like people, you have some ghosts that are mischievous.
Mm-hmm.
They have their personality from when they were living, especially if they haven't crossed over. They're a ghost. So you can have very mischievous entities. You can have some very dark entities.
So just run something by you here on something that you said. Yes, they have their personalities that they had as when they were alive, but don't you think some change? Like get more, I don't know, some could get aggressive and they really weren't in life, or they could change in death
Well,
by
if
all the interactions that could happen to them and
yeah,
such.
if they haven't crossed over, and so they're a ghost,
Mm-hmm.
and someone comes in there, and let's just say it's an elderly woman who didn't cross over for whatever reason, and someone comes into her home and starts calling her names and provokes, which this has been done.
Mm-hmm.
And how would she react normally? Frightened, scared?
Mm-hmm.
Would she push? Would she, it kind of depends on the personality. So if this is a presence that maybe took some bullying in real life and didn't cross over and they're a ghost, and someone comes in and provoke, well, you can't hurt them now. They might get mad and might push back, so to speak.
Right.
And who would blame them if someone's coming in there and saying horrible things?
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't go into someone's house and do that,
Right.
you know?
Right.
But some people, all they want is interaction or reaction and not necessarily go into the process with, we're going to try to debunk this to make
Mm-hmm.
sure it's actual activity.
Yeah.
And then decide, is this an intelligent interaction or is this a residual? Residual is when it's just a tape playing over and over and over again. It's just an imprint of energy
Right.
that just keeps doing its thing. It's not, there is no entity there. There is no ghost.
Yeah.
And then you have the intelligent haunts, which they can interact. It takes energy for them to do that.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a place that's been heavily investigated, that's known to be very haunted. You're going to draw in entities are going to come to that location that maybe are not originally from that location. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it definitely does because people could be bringing them in with them
Yeah.
unintentionally, of course, but they could be hitchhiking on somebody or just attracted to the energy that's being built up in a place because you're
Yeah.
building up energy with your fear or your curiosity. Any kind of emotion that you have in a place leaves energy behind, as energy signature. That's what they feed on.
You're not necessarily going to have the original ghost. You may have the ghost and then some.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to have the entities that are like, I'm not going to talk to you guys. I'm just going to sit over here. Done with you people. Here again. Leave me alone. And there are those that just refuse to communicate.
Right.
But unfortunately, like in this young lady's case, I mean, she felt like she was being attacked, and it was very frightening, and it would be.
Yeah, definitely.
I've mentioned this before. When I go someplace to do a house cleansing or, in this situation, help with a paranormal investigation, I'm very firm. No one can touch me. Do not touch. I mean, I had it when I lived in the house that was haunted. You never touch. We don't touch
Mm-hmm.
because there's no reason. And that's my rule. I just don't want to be touched. And as a psychic, I think it's a very important rule that you have, that any entities you're not allowed to touch.
Yep.
Because I have the right to communicate with you if I want. You have the right to communicate with me if you want.
Yeah.
But you can't force it. So it's the whole do not touch. Because that's where it gets scary. And that comes from growing up in a haunted house.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no, don't touch. Don't touch. I mean, I didn't have the hand on the bed like you guys did, but
Yeah.
it was the don't touch.
Well, I had an incident happen the other day, which I didn't look. That's the thing. I should have, and I didn't. I just didn't want to look. But I was laying in bed, and my cat was laying beside me, and she was doing the little making biscuits, prancing with her feet or whatever.
Mm.
She was doing the kneading thing that she does, and all of a sudden, something jumped up on the bed by my feet, and she was up by my chest, by my arms. So something jumped up on the bed. 2 legs, or, it was not 2 feet standing, but it was, it was an animal. I know it was. It felt like another cat. And I didn't look. For some reason, I couldn't look at it. I was afraid it wasn't going to be one of the cats that I thought it was going to be, that had passed on. For some reason, I just couldn't do it. I was afraid of what it was going to be. So I just said, well, all right, you can go now. I know you're there. And then it jumped off and left. So I don't know. It was kind of creepy. Stuff like that happens, even in your own home.
Yeah. And sometimes you just don't want to deal with it. I'm really tired. I don't want to deal with you right now.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. Yeah. But do you get those feelings, whenever you go to places that whether you're on an investigation or not, you walk into a place and you can feel that energy of, I don't want to look over there. I don't want to see what's there. That is something I don't want to do. But hey, there's someone there that I feel might be nice, and it's a ghost. It's both of them are not alive. It's just really weird how you can feel that when you go into places.
Well, I mean, sometimes you don't want them to know that you know.
Yeah, true.
You don't acknowledge them, because once you acknowledge them, because like in the situation when I was doing the house blessing with the elderly woman who had passed away in the house, at the end of the cleansing, we sat down, and the woman that wanted a little mini reading, and her stepdaughter was in the room, and her stepdaughter had an attachment with her, and he wasn't a very nice man. The attachment was not a very nice man. The woman was there, and she was agitated. She was very agitated, and so I was giving the reading, and all of a sudden I got in my left ear, which is the ear that had the tinnitus, she hates my wallpaper. And it was said so fast, and she hates my wallpaper. And I just stopped, because the woman that I was giving the reading to was to the left of me, and she was sitting in a chair. But then I looked over at the young girl. I said, "You don't like the wallpaper?" And she went, "What?" I said, "You don't like the wallpaper. She's very angry with you because you insulted her wallpaper." And the stepmom goes, "Well, yeah, she doesn't like the wallpaper in her bedroom." I said, "But you weren't very nice about it." And she says, "Well, I want to paint it black. I want to paint over it was wallpaper had roses on it."
Mm-hmm.
And so she had said some things that I believe she knew that the ghost was there.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah. I got the impression that she knew the ghost was there. I don't know how much interaction there was. So then, this is your house now. But you said you didn't want her to leave. And now you need to be respectful of her feelings. If you're going to make changes in the house, you need to explain to her what you're going to do. This is our house now. We love it. These are the changes we're going to make. Otherwise, she needs to move on.
Right.
But that was a big deal. The woman was very upset about the wallpaper. Evidently, she really loved that wallpaper. So they painted that room black because she wanted the room black. And then they cut off a square of the wallpaper and put it in a frame to hang on the wall. I think is what she said that they did. But, it was just one of those things where it was, the woman knew she was gone. She knew she had died.
Mm-hmm.
But she loved that house.
Yeah. Well, that was very respectful, though, to cut a piece of the wallpaper out and frame it.
Yeah.
That was very respectful.
Well, that wasn't the daughter's idea, the stepdaughter's idea.
Well, I'm sure it wasn't.
But that was someone trying to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
Because I did acknowledge her and did let them know she was there. When I was doing the reading, I was open.
Right.
Her grandfather was kind of talking to me, and all of a sudden I got that. I mean, she pushed her way in because she needed to be heard about the wallpaper. So, when you do a paranormal investigation, you have to be closed off. Yeah, you want to be open because you want the interaction, but do you want the interaction?
Yeah. How far do you want to go with that interaction? Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, you've got psychics that do the paranormal investigations because they're doing it because they work with the dead.
Mm-hmm.
So you could have 2 psychics in the same house, and those psychics do totally different things. One might be only getting impressions of the past
Mm-hmm.
and nothing of the current, and the other one might be getting current. So it doesn't mean one psychic is off Like I said, we can't be 100% correct all the time, but you can have two psychics with two different kinds of abilities picking up different things.
That's true. Yeah, because one may not even communicate with the other.
Right.
One
And think
spirit
of,
may not communicate with both of them. It may communicate with the one that it best fits their wants.
and spirit also has a hand in it. Maybe your abilities aren't open to see that particular one because you're not the personality that ghost needs at the moment.
Ah, good point.
So it's really kind of up to you. We had listened to a podcast. It was what, 2 years ago? We were listening to we like to listen to the same podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But this one was Psychic on the Scene.
Right.
And the one psychic in the area, they lived on the East Coast in the area that they lived at. She went on several paranormal investigations with this one group. And she kept getting the same entity coming through, calling her a bad name.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Remember that?
Yes.
And yeah, so it was I guess it got to be funny, but he was not very nice, and he would seem to show up wherever. So I don't know if he was attached to someone in that paranormal team.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they'd be different locations, and he'd show up.
Yeah, and she got creeped out about that because he just, out of the blue, would be there. He wasn't even associated with the place that they would be.
He was calling her the same name each time,
Mm-hmm.
and it was a redheaded. And it started with that, and then it was not nice what he would say. And you have to keep in mind, as a psychic, you're a light shining in the dark. So any entity, any around is going to be able to see you. Now, whether or not you want to acknowledge that you can see them is up to you.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's once you start to acknowledge, the more you get.
Well, that's for sure. And it's weird things that you start seeing sometimes. I'm just saying.
Yes. Our cousin has had several psychic hits.
Mm-hmm.
And they've scared her. I don't know if they startled her, not scared her. I think startled her would be the way to say that, because she wasn't expecting it. And then when she realized what it was like, oh, oh my gosh, it just happened, because she's been working on grounding and different things in her abilities and such. And it is fun when you get a hit,
Mm-hmm.
when you're trying, when you get the hits, when you don't know what it is. When you're first starting out, that's when it gets a little weird.
Yeah, true.
Because if you're on a paranormal investigation, you're looking in this direction for a reason. You're like, why do I keep staring over there? I don't see anything. I keep staring over there. Well, that's because there's something there.
Right.
And as a psychic, you're drawn to that energy. You don't realize what you're doing.
Yeah. Well, it's using your old clairs and your empath abilities.
Yep, exactly. The more you work those muscles, the more. But everybody should go on. I mean, I've done the ghost walks. Like, you go to Newtown for on vacation, they got a ghost walk. Oh, let's go do the ghost walk. You get a really cool storyteller.
Mm-hmm.
And you get to find out a little bit about the town. If you get to pay for an actual ghost investigation where they allow so many people to come, that you can actually learn a lot by just hanging out with them and doing a ghost investigation.
Yeah.
Or if you do a paranormal convention, they have classes and speakers you can sign up for and hear about. But a lot of it, you can just watch a lot of your paranormal shows to see. I remember watching Ghost Hunters when they were brand new.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
And I loved how they debunked things, just because you heard that wasn't enough proof.
Right.
What could have caused that noise? I really had a lot of respect for them because they were respectful of the properties they went to. Sometimes we get excited, which who wouldn't,
Mm-hmm.
They had one episode where it was a lighthouse and they could see a body leaning over the railing looking down at them. And I mean, you could see it on the TV and then, the video. Remember that one?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And so it's just kind of like, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend watching more shows along the line of respectful ghost investigations, like Ghost Hunters or The Dead Files. It's not really ghost investigating, but it's a good show to watch. But what's that one? The one we used to watch all the time? Adam and...
Kindred Spirits?
Yes. So Kindred Spirits is a good one to watch because they are also respectful of where they're going to do an investigation.
Another thing you could do, and this just popped into my head, is that you can check with your local colleges and universities and find out if they have a paranormal society, clubs or something on their campus that you can get in contact with.
A lot of colleges and universities are haunted, it seems. There was one show, it wasn't on really, really long, but they came out of they were in college. Remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Was it the...
They were out of Ohio State, I think. Paranormal State is what they were called, I believe, is
Yeah,
the one you're
Paranormal
talking
State, yeah.
about. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Reaching out to, the universities and colleges is a great idea, Kim, to kind of see if that's something you want to get involved in. Some colleges actually teach a paranormal class.
Oh, they do. It is a science.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
it is a
Yes.
branch of the
Yeah.
sciences. Mm-hmm.
And a lot of psychics kind of take those classes too.
Oh, sure. Definitely. I imagine there's ones you could take online as well, of course. You can find anything online. But I was going to say, just don't take it upon yourself to go to an abandoned location and try to do an investigation. Number one, you're going on private property and you really need to have permission and such to do that. But you need more than just yourself there as well as a safety precaution. So don't just try to go.
You should never go by yourself.
Right.
And doing any kind of investigation.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have no one else who can witness what you witnessed.
Right.
So at that point, you can't definitively say you saw something because you need the second person there. And that's usually why you see paranormal investigations when you watch the shows. They're not by themselves.
Right. There's always a team. And if they are by themselves, there is somebody there off camera.
Holding the camera.
Exactly.
Holding the camera. Yeah. It's there to document. So when you go off by yourself and you say you have interaction, you really have no proof.
Correct. Right.
So you should always be in teams anyway,
Mm-hmm.
just for debunking purposes.
And safety precautions.
And safety as well, yeah. But, again, as psychics, though, you do need to be mindful. I mean, I had holy water with me just in case.
Mm-hmm.
It's in my toolbox for going to one of these places because you don't know what you're going to encounter.
Yeah, and that's a very good point because I don't know that I recall many of them having that with them at the time of their investigations. And like you said, you just don't know what could pop up.
Well, the haunted Scotland, they do have holy water. But they go to some pretty medieval structures.
Oh, sure. They're going to some structures that have extremely dark histories with them.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that just makes sense.
So they usually,
Anything over in Europe and stuff like that, the older societies. Oh, yeah, definitely. Having holy water is a bonus that you should have with you at all times there.
Oh, yes. I'm a firm believer of having spray sage, burning sage, holy water.
Mm-hmm.
I want to be prepared for any situation.
So as far as like when you've done the house cleansings and such, investigation type things there, have you ever, because I can speak about it for here whenever I've done it here, do you ever feel that it does change the atmosphere of the house that you've been in when you've done that, especially if they leave the people there, the ghosts there?
I find that at any time that they've wanted me to leave the ghosts there, I have been called back.
Ah, so you don't feel the lightness that happens.
There's a lightness at first,
Uh-huh.
but when you have an entity in your home, it has to get energy from somewhere.
Ah, true.
It has to have energy
Mm-hmm.
to interact. It needs energy, and so it's either going to take the energy from the air, from plants, from a pet, from you.
Ah, true. Or power lines up above.
Power lines, whatever. So, it needs to have energy. When you do a cleansing, you're removing any negative energy, whether it's from an argument,
Mm-hmm.
someone had a good cry, any emotion that's happened in that house between cleansings is trapped in there. Like, it's kind of like we were talking about with the energy loop.
Mm-hmm.
So you should do a cleansing of your own space. Some people do it each full moon. Some people do it every time they clean. I'm a firm believer that when you clean, that's part of the cleaning process.
Mm-hmm.
Think of that as a spiritual moment. How often do you clean your house?
Right.
So how often should you smudge your house?
Sometimes you smudge it more than just when you clean your house. Just saying.
Yes, yes. But see, that's the thing is, you go to someone's house and I've left smudge sticks. They go with me through the process. But there's been, and usually it's when they want the entities to stay that the entity interacts more.
Mm-hmm.
Because now the gig's up. Everybody knows she's there or he's there.
Yes,
And
exactly.
so it increases the activity in the home. And if there's things happening in the home that the entity's not happy about, then the entity's going to act out.
Right.
And that's usually when I get called back.
Yeah.
But if you have an entity in your home, it's your house, you have control of your house. You could ask it to leave if you don't know how to do the sagey thing.
Mm-hmm.
You have to go. This is my house. I do recommend doing a cleansing of the house just to do a proper removal. But I mean, you don't have to do all that. But you do need to, if you've got something in your house and you want it to stay, it's not a pet.
Yeah, definitely not a pet.
It's going to interact with you more and more. And especially if you got someone talking to. I mean, growing up, we talked to our ghosts.
We do.
They were really,
We did.
and they were more spirit. They were spirits except for what was in the basement. But I mean, we interacted with them.
Yeah.
And they interacted with us.
Right.
I'm not sure the new owners of the house really knew what they were getting into when they wanted to know if it was haunted. And you're like,
Yeah.
uh-huh.
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah. But it's different living in a haunted house.
Yeah.
We coexisted with everything but the basement one. That one, he'd show up and you'd be like, bye, I'm out of here. I'm gone.
Yeah. Yeah. But it felt normal what we were doing,
Well, yeah, because there were no shows on TV to show you how to do this.
True.
And we didn't know anything about grounding. I think as young children that you just have an instinct before you're told, you don't.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think instinctively we were communicating and doing what, who knows, great grandma could have been there guiding us too. Who knows?
Well, that's true.
Yeah, we interacted. I mean, I told you a story with the going camping, and the man ghost was like all excited and going back and forth between the camper and the house as I'm trying to load it up. Finally, I just like, fine, you can go. Okay, well, first of all, he took me serious.
Yeah.
and he went. And he did show himself while we were camping, and I guess he had a good time. But, it was just one of those situations where I was being flippant because he was bothering me, and I was trying to get something done.
Right.
And he was just excited, and so he didn't realize he was bothering me. But it was just kind of like, right, fine, you can go camping.
If you have to go, go.
But see, that also shows how things can follow you home.
Right, exactly.
I gave him permission to go camping. It was only a 2-night trip, thank goodness.
But he wasn't doing anything harmful to you or anything.
No.
He was...
No, but when you think about it, though, 2 people in a camper, where's he going to get his energy from?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's obviously electricity in a camper.
Right.
There was running water.
Yeah.
Which was creating energy. So, but it's also your energy too.
Right.
So you do have to limit your
exposure. Yeah,
limit your
exactly.
exposure. So just keep in mind all these fun facts if you're going to want to do any paranormal investigation, or if you're going to go do a house cleansing. You need to be prepared as a psychic that some things may interact with you.
They could do that anywhere.
Yeah.
Just be aware, because you could be walking by one at a rest stop and nobody else is seeing that interaction.
People, what's she staring at?
Exactly.
Like when I see an entity, I get the flip-flop in my stomach.
Yeah. That's what I was talking about, the flip-flop, yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes I get the flip-flop before I see them.
Mm.
Like, okay, where's it at? I just got a flip-flop. Where's it at?
Yeah.
And sometimes you just get that vibe.
Right.
That maybe their energy isn't enough to come full on, but you get that vibe. Oh, it sounds here. Okay.
Yeah. I get a lot of that peripheral stuff happening.
But that's what most people do see.
Mm-hmm.
Is through the peripheral because it's easier to see them.
Yeah.
Through the peripheral. So, it's normally how you would see an entity is I've seen them front on, and that's rare.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen more through the peripheral vision
That makes sense.
and then just knowing they're there, because that's that clear coming through. Like, okay, we got one here.
That makes sense, yeah.
At the house, I'm at, now it's a spiral wooden staircase goes from the lower level to the upper level. And I'll hear a cat coming down the steps, and there's not a dark cat on those steps.
Oh, I've heard that too when I'm there. Yep, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, 12:45 in the morning in Dad's room, the alarm is going off. And he tries to turn his alarm off, and it keeps going, and he's confused because obviously he was soundly sleeping.
Right.
And the alarm went off. So he turned the light on, and it was an old alarm, old Timex alarm on Mom's side of the bed.
Oh, wow.
Was going off at 12:45. And he was telling me that. He goes, how could that have got, maybe the cat sat on it and set the alarm or whatnot. I said, well, maybe Mom was messing with you. He goes, yeah, that's true. It could have been Mom. Could have been Mom messing with me. It's like, because it's like, it's never gone off before.
Right.
I don't even believe she ever used it. And why would it be except for 12:45?
Yeah, exactly. And then I wonder, did he have anything going on with his health at that point in time?
His health's been pretty good lately, so not that I'm aware of. Once we got the pacemaker, things have been much better.
Well, I meant like with his diabetes. I just wasn't going to mention that. But...
Yeah. No, he usually wakes up when his blood sugar is low.
Yeah.
Yeah, so whether he's getting awakened, I don't know, but this was the first time the alarm has gone off in the middle of the night.
Yeah, so, yeah, sounds like it getting messed with.
Yeah. I think Mom was trying to get his attention.
Probably.
But, yes. So, Kim, have you had any feedback on your Sexy Voice podcast?
No, I have not. No.
I'm just curious.
Nope.
Just curious.
No, we do have 4 new subscribers on YouTube, though, so thank you, everybody.
Yay!
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 I thought that was kind of exciting.
It is exciting. Is there anything else you can think of that we should go over on ghost hunting spirits?
I just think that if you do it, definitely go with people that are professionals and that know what they're doing. The first couple of times you do it.
Don't go with anybody that's going to provoke.
Right. Just nobody that's going to be doing something bad.
Well, and be prepared as a psychic. You may see something, or you may really see something. You may not see something, but you might just have a lot of your clairsentient going on, or you may have some clairaudience going on.
Mm-hmm.
But you may get interaction just because they know you can see them, or you may not because they know you can see them.
Right. Exactly. They may not interact with you at all because they don't want to interact with the psychic. It could be. Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
All right. Well, let's wrap this up, Kim.
Okay. Well, thank you all for listening. We hope you've enjoyed this episode of Psychic Bent. Carrie, anything you'd like to add there?
Yes. No, thank you guys for listening. Do follow us on any of your podcast
Platforms.
Thank you. Any podcast platform. Do follow us on Facebook at Psychic Bent Podcast, or email us with any comments or questions to
psychicbent1@gmail.com.
Thanks everybody for listening. Bye.
Bye. May your light shine bright.
Thank you so much for listening to our podcast, Psychic Bent. If you enjoyed Psychic Bent, please like, follow, rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to Psychic Bent. We can be reached on Facebook at Psychic Bent Podcast. Our email address is psychicbent1@gmail.com. May your light shine bright.